You can trust the dealers in Car Buyer. Car Buyer, in your newsagents now, only 20p.
Safeway!
Safeway shopping is low prices on the things you and I need every week. But Safeway shopping means much more. Really fresh fruit and vegetables. Safeway shopping is quality at low prices.
Everything you want from a store and a little bit more.
Winning at Crufts was the best thing that ever happened to me and Alfie. He is fed on pedigree chum, which I think is the best food you can give a dog. It shows through in his healthy coat, the shine on him, his vitality he's got. It is good for any dog from the smallest mongrel to the supreme champion at Crufts. Alfie's been fed on pedigree chum all of his life. Alfie thinks chum is terrific.
Monday, 10:30 on Thames, the royal film performance in the presence of the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret. This year's film is Table for Five, an emotional family drama starring John Voight.
You haven't changed.
I want to come back into their lives.
Don't do this. Don't make promises you can't keep. You're a loving man, James, but they've learned not to rely on you.
The 1983 royal film performance, Monday, 10:30 on Thames.
This is Thames from London.
President Reagan says the IRA are no friends of Ireland. Boardroom battle at TVAM, will Peter J. be pushed out? America shuts down nuclear plant after safety failure. The man who trained the first 5 in the Gold Cup. And the thinnest elephant in town gets a lift home at last. Good evening. President Reagan tonight made his strongest attack yet on the IRA and its supporters, as leading Irish Americans boycotted the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York, led this year by a veteran IRA man. The president said people who advocated violence should find no welcome in the United States. The Grand Marshal of the parade was 81-year-old Michael Flannery, who's admitted sending arms to Northern Ireland and had said the march would be a show of support for the IRA. Tens of thousands marched with him. Many saluted him after Mass in St. Patrick's, but Cardinal Terence Cook refused him the traditional blessing on the cathedral steps. President Reagan, whose own roots are in County Tipperary, went to the Irish Embassy in Washington with the Irish Foreign Minister and Senator Edward Kennedy, one of the many who shunned the parade.
Some few but vocal Americans believe that differences between Irishmen can only be solved by violence and intimidation. They are no friends of Ireland. They disgrace the principles for which both Ireland and America stand. I would urge my fellow Americans not to listen to such people.
Earlier, the Irish Prime Minister, Dr. Garret Fitzgerald, said on American television that the IRA role in the parade was a blasphemous desecration of the day.
If Michael Flannery's opponents thought his presence would keep people away from the march, they were disappointed. The crowds were enormous, and several times police had to move in to stop him being mobbed. In a city that loves parades, there is never anything to touch the St. Patrick's Day parade. This year, though, it was a case of who would be there and who wouldn't. The 69th Infantry, the fighting 69th, traditional leaders of the parade, were there. 17 high school bands, though, pulled out of the parade because of the choice of Mr. Flannery as Grand Marshal. And when the leading group passed St. Patrick's Cathedral, the head of the Roman Catholic Church in New York, Cardinal Cook, was not on the steps to greet them. And America's leading Irish politicians were not there. Senator Moynihan went to early Mass, but did not go on to the parade.
So why have you decided this year to make your stand?
Same stand we've taken every year. We are against violence and for constitutional progress towards a united Ireland.
But
Cardinal Cook did make his traditional appearance at the parade, but only after Mr. Flannery was well past and to a very untraditional reception. Earlier, the Cardinal had preached at Mass for peace in Northern Ireland, and Michael Flannery had applauded, the only person in the cathedral to do so.
I'm opposed to violence in Northern Ireland too, but the only violence in Northern Ireland happens to be the presence of the British Army and their government. When they get out there will be peace.
The unofficial head of the parade came 50 yards behind Mr. Flannery and was led by the Mayor of New York, Ed Koch.
Television, sir, what about these? Thanks, sir. For British television, what about these avowed IRA supporters that are on your march?
Well, I think that if you ask the people who are in the parade or watching the parade, they're absolutely opposed to IRA violence. This parade is in honor of the Irish and in honor of St. Patrick, and I'm still for England getting out of Ireland.
But these men leading the march, sir, these men...
They're pimples. Pimples. You know what a pimple is? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye.
If New York loves a parade, it also loves a cause. And today, Michael Flannery provided that. John Suchet, News at 10 in New York.
In Northern Ireland, a soldier was seriously injured when the IRA hit a troop carrier with a rocket-propelled grenade in Republican West Belfast. 2 other soldiers were treated for shock.
Late last night, a 4-strong IRA team moved into a house near the Joint Police-Army base on the White Rock Road in the west of the city. They held the McMenemy family hostage for nearly 12 hours, waiting for an army vehicle to pass by. And around 10 o'clock this morning, an armoured personnel carrier with 4 soldiers on board came down the road towards the base. 2 of the IRA men then ran out into the road, one with a Russian-made RPG-7 rocket launcher, the other with a rifle. Both men opened fire, and a rocket pierced the army vehicle and exploded inside. 1 soldier received serious leg injuries. The army driver managed to keep going, crashing into a parked car on the way down the road. The IRA team made their getaway in a waiting car, which they later abandoned in the Ballymurphy area of the city, a relatively short distance away.
Mr. Peter Jay, the chairman and chief executive of TV-AM, is expected to lose his job tomorrow. There's a move by shareholders to oust him. A group of them will propose to the company's board that he's replaced by Lord Marsh, the deputy chairman. TV-AM has suffered from low ratings, and there have been problems with revenue due to the actors' dispute over advertisements. The shareholders' move follows a meeting today of Barclays Merchant Bank, attended by other investors in the company. Any change in the top management of TV-AM would have to be approved by the Independent Broadcasting Authority. The IBA refused to comment tonight.
The biggest city institutional shareholders are Aitken Hume, the trust which administers the old Beaverbrook newspaper fortune. And it's understood the trust's chairman, Tory MP Jonathan Aitken, has been heading the move to topple Mr. Jay. Complex financial funding arrangements mean that the company is far from short of cash for the present. But the worry for the company's backers is that estimated income for the first year of around £15 million could prove optimistic. And with annual costs of £18 million, it wouldn't take much of a slide in revenue to wipe out the available capital. TV-AM's worries were increased further last week when the big ITV companies threatened to cut back the breakfast show's free adverts on the main ITV channel. The possibility